Hi, everybody. I'm Mark with Marathon Press. I have got a great guest for you today. Jay Davis is with me. We're going to talk drone photography, something I've been interested in for a number of years and have wanted to know more about. I have a lot of questions that I'm going to file at him. And one thing I have always been impressed with Jay, every time I see him anywhere, we've always got a good conversation going, and we've got a lot in common. We've been in the industry a long time. He's been in it for 40 years. He's an architectural and product photographer now. He used to do portrait and wedding as well. He now serves on the Professional Photographers of Nebraska board, and he's an Air Force veteran. So, Jay, you have been around and been to Turkey and other places. So, welcome to the podcast, another place that you're now new to. What are you flying, Jay? I forgot you told me, but
Yeah, I fly Typhoon H. They are, like I said, it's a hectocopter, six-bladed copter, or drone. I call it a hexacopter, but
mhm.
uh, it's it's a heavier, larger, more stable platform. I like it. Um, as a side note, it has retractable landing gear, which is the greatest toy ever because then you can it is because in a way you pull your landing gear up, then you can flip your camera 360 degrees and have no interference.
That would be
Which
handy.
sometimes, yeah, that's sometimes a nice thing to have because um, you can get up and say, wow, if I did a whole panorama of this thing and you're already there, it's awesome. It's an awesome feature.
And what size camera file are you getting? I mean, what is the camera built into that Typhoon, or is it one that you buy separately? Or
It's a below platform attachment, so you can take it off and put it on. The one that I currently have on there is a 24 megapixel, but keeping in mind it's a small sensor. And I can't remember, I should remember what the specs are in the camera. I should have looked it up this morning. But I'm in the process now of upgrading that camera to the newest version, which is basically a 36 megapixel on a 1 inch sensor.
wow,
Yeah.
that'll do the
So,
job.
yeah, it's actually a Sony sensor, I understand.
Do you find most people buy video, stills, prints? What are you finding?
I haven't sold any prints because I haven't offered that yet as far as that part of the market goes. Uh, I have both. In fact, I tend to shoot stills and then go back and shoot video of the same project. And I found on a couple of occasions that's really been to my benefit. The one in O'Neill, I actually did that both in video and still, and they bought both.
Hmm.
In fact, that building was so big, they had me fly inside that building, which was a whole different concept I had never worked with before on that drone. And you get to flying down through those aisles. It's an awesome view. It's an awesome video, but they were disappointed because they can't really use that in their marketing for the building itself. And it's like, oh, okay. So I started to break stills out of it. Not as effective. They got pretty grainy on me. So
Very interesting. I never knew you could, you know, do all of that with a camera. Well, it makes sense. I mean, a drone, pretty agile, can go anywhere. Might be easier to fly indoors now that I think about it.
well, it's funny you would say that, and I would have thought that. But in the building in O'Neill, if you notice all those skylights in there, the day that I was there, they were all open. They were letting heat out of the building. So as I would fly along, it'd come to a skylight, and we want to go up and over toward the skylight. Well, I had hanging wires all through there for their production facility. It's like, no, 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 you can't do that. So I ended up shutting my GPS off on the inside, and it helped me a bunch. But it was so weird because I just fly along, and all of a sudden, it's like, no, 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 you need to stay here. So,
So the unexpected, and again, that's why you have insurance, right?
and I prefer not to do that for insurance, but you have that just demonstrates you have to be on your toes
hmm
because if you lose control of the aircraft, you're going to lose the aircraft. And I don't like buying stuff just because I like to buy stuff. It's
hmm No
so
doubt.
yeah,
All part of the experience.
it is.
Um, so things to avoid that I've kind of learned here: gusty winds, storms.
Storms, yeah.
Don't make the FAA mad.
Nope.
Be aware of power lines. I'm sure that's another biggie. knowing the regulations. Um, Now, let's talk about promotion here a little bit. How do you market yourself? Do you how do you promote? What do you do?
Well, that's a great question because I haven't promoted this at all. So what happened was one of my clients originally came to me and said, we're using a different vendor to do our drone work, and you're doing our still work. What's the odds of you maybe trying to do drone work? I said, well, I'm up for it. I'll learn. So that's what I did. Like I said, I bought a. My wife got me a $29 drone that I crashed 500,000 times, learned how to fly one, and then I moved right up to the platform that I'm on now, which was pretty scary the first couple of flights. For number one, the cost, and you're putting that thing up in the air, but number two, it flies a whole lot differently than a $29. There's so much more control to it. So I did that. I went and I took my test. I got licensed. I did everything legally like I should have first time around. Then I started to do some work for them. Well, then pretty soon another client that I do a lot of work for found out that I was flying drone for this client. And they said, hey, can you do this for us? And then totally by accident, I got a call from a person I knew for a number of years, and he was working with the company that makes gas canopies. And they were talking about they have to have a once a year inspection on those canopies. And this particular service station chain has a lot of stores. And so we got to talking about it. I went out and flew a couple jobs for him, basically pro bono, just to get my foot in the door. And that's now led to me doing mostly the Omaha, Lincoln area. I have at least once a year, I have to fly about 20 gas canopies guaranteed to inspect them. You asked me a little bit earlier about what you decide you're going to do on those for images. So everything they do is straight down. So what I'll do on them is I'll fly a drone, a video first, and then I come back and section off their canopy so we can blow up bits and pieces to look at the structure or look at the wiring, look at whatever's up there that they need to view.
Hmm.
Sorry, they're doing some work outside my house today.
That's all right.
So, yeah.
So, how do you, without getting into specific pricing, Jay, do you have like, what do you recommend to new photographers that are, doing this? How are they, what's a good way to kind of calculate your own pricing?
Well, first of all, you only give it away once. Okay. And I look at that as a way to advertise for me. Or if I'm not sure I even want to go into that product line, that's what I kind of did here. I did this pro bono. But how I sat down and ended up pricing it is I got to look at about four things: the cost of my drone, the cost of my insurance, what's my time worth to drive to and from the site, and what's my time worth on the site. I don't really look at the editing side of it because sometimes I don't have to edit anything. And sometimes I've got a couple hours of editing into it. So for me, it's a wash. I just kind of put it into my pricing. So at the end of the day, I'm giving them an hourly fee um, for the drone work. And then I add on my expenses such as mileage. Um, I take that back. My hourly fee includes everything except mileage. And then if I have extended travel time, I charge them additionally for that at a different rate. So it just a matter. I thought at first I was too high. When I went out with that number, I was a little scared. But at the end of the day, I found out I'm actually mid range or even on the low side of mid range of what guys charge for what I do. So I'm probably with things this year, like everybody else, I'm going to probably up my fees a little anyway. Just mostly because with the gas being all over the place, I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow. And
Yeah.
57 cents doesn't cover it all the time.
Yeah. And
So,
when you, again, for new photographers, is there a way to kind of scout out to find out what to charge, or do you kind of ask your client, if they've done that kind of photography before with a photographer to get some feedback, or how do you, what's a good way to start if you're a new photographer? Besides, I know you're figure out your time and what it's worth and calculating your expenses, but is there a way to find out what others maybe charge for that?
so Here's why I don't work in the residential real estate market. You can charge what you think you should charge or what the market would bear under normal circumstances, and you're not going to win a single job with them
Mm.
because there's companies out there right now that'll do the entire uh, real estate shoot, including the drone work, for $125.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to be a snob here. I don't get my camera out of the bag for $125.
Hmm.
That's truly the case. And being said, the drone is now the same way. I did the pro bono ones. I figured out, what would the client bear? What can you pick up? But there's no real answer to what to charge. It's a closely guarded secret, as you know how those go in the industry.
Yes.
In my case, when clients tell me I'm too low, fine. If I'm comfortable with what I'm making at the end of the day, I'll stay with that. Like I said, I'm kind of at the bottom end of the mid. I could go up, but you know what? I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. I'm making money at it. I'm not killing the world with it, but I don't want to. I pick and choose what I want to do, which is a luxury I kind of have, by the way.
So when so you've covered your fees and everything, does that include the video then for them to use, and is it unlimited use, or how do you handle that?
So yeah, mostly what I do. That's a good question because the usage rights are a different story. So if I do video for them, I allow them pretty much unlimited use on their website only. If they want to sub it to somebody else, then there's a separate fee that I charge, a licensing fee that I charge on the video. Now the stills, I go back and forth on those. It really depends on what I'm doing with them. Say the inspection work, I give them a one-time fee and that's it. I'm not going to charge them a usage fee because, quite honestly, it's going to be a one-time use for them anyway. They're very rarely going to publish them out somewhere. So what you see is what you get.
Sure.
Then again, when I'm working with architects, like the house, for example, I kind of added that in as a bonus when they asked me to do it. And because I had never done a nighttime like that, I actually gave them that image with unlimited usage on their website. Now, the next time I do one, they know this as well, it's not going to be a freebie. But they get that. And it's a usage fee based on what they want to do with it.
And then this gives them a chance to know your quality, and it gave you experience. So
Yes.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and then how do you handle sales if you do sales? Is it in person, or do you do it, or is it all decided in advance?
So most of us decided in advance as to what we do. The most door knocking I do anymore for in person is to try to get new clients or work with new clients. But for the most part, no. And when it's part of the architectural shoot itself, we just add that in. In other words, there's a set line item that goes in there for that, and then that same usage right that we get for the stills attaches to the drone work.
Okay.
So I don't like things complicated, and you can really get complicated in this business if you want to.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
you know, I haven't, unfortunately, you don't want to hear this. I haven't sold a print in years, just simply because everything I do now is electronic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the
Do I
nature
miss?
of your business. Sure.
Is. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, just so you know, and you're probably going to help in this, and this is the first you're going to hear about this, but this year, I'm going to change my marketing strategy a little bit with the drone and the architectural stuff, and I'm going to go to kind of a mass mailing uh, type of piece. So yes, I will be contacting you about
Yeah.
working with me on that.
Sure. Be glad to help.
Yeah.
It's one thing I'm hearing more and more now that we're kind of through the COVID. There's a lot of photographers having success getting back into direct mail and doing some of that, which leads me to, I guess, my final question before we run out of time, Jay. I imagine one of the most important marketing tools that you've got is your website and having, materials and samples on there. Is that correct?
Pretty much yes.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is I don't tend to update it regularly enough. I need to just sit down and do that, but
Sure.
I'm lazy.
But well, and one thing about it, you're going to guide, your customers toward that so they can see it. And of
Sure.
course, having the right you know, support material that will help too, brochures, business cards, all those things that are branded to help, give you that information. Do you have like anything on your vehicle that also promotes you, or do you pretty much just low key and work by referrals?
I stayed low key, worked on the referrals, but I am now starting to put some advertising in my vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in sign business for a little while, so I think I
Mm-hmm.
know how to do that. But I'm going to start to do that. But I am going to go more to a direct mail type of campaign now. Um, the business in the architecture world, the business has changed, and so unlike portrait and wedding, the competition I have in this business, we're all pretty equal photographers. And
Mm-hmm.
so what makes us different is how we do our customer service side of it and how we get in front of those customers. Um, I'm a little nervous right now. I'm a little slow on work, although I've got contracts for jobs that just aren't getting done, which is another problem right now for me is they can't get the work done because they can't get the products to finish it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So projects that I should already be photographing, they're not completed yet. And
Yeah.
so it gets a little nervous when you start worrying about that. And that's why I'm going to broaden my market a little bit. But I've chosen to go into a very niche size of firm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to the monsters. They got their own people to deal. I don't. I like the small firms. I like them because number one, I can work with them. And number two, I can give them a cost benefit that they don't get from the other photographers who want to charge them a whole lot of money for the same thing I'll do for, this sounds terrible, for less. It's not less. I mean, it's comparable if you figure it all out. But I don't have to fly in from California to do your, 100,000 or $500,000 house. I
Right.
drive across town.
Absolutely.
So
And
yeah,
that's another, benefit that you can promote to your commercial accounts.
yep, absolutely. Some of them here in the local area, I don't charge any mileage for.
Well, Jay, let's wrap this up. Is there any final words of wisdom you want to share?
Yeah, I think if you want to get into this business, research, research, research. You can join Professional Photographers Nebraska, Professional Photographers America, either one. Both of them have educational opportunities. I'm not saying this to promote them, but the fact of the matter is, if you don't get education from reliable sources, and YouTube's not necessarily one of those, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get around professionals that are doing this and working with this and mentor with them. And that's two really good ways to do that.
Well, that's how, you and I have connected over the years through the Professional Photographers of Nebraska, and that's invaluable when you've got a state group that you can spend time with your colleagues and you learn as much from each other as you do the programming.
I think when we talked a couple of weeks ago, I said that I'd gone to that one seminar in Lincoln that I that I hadn't planned on going to on lighting, and I was there in 3 minutes, and I went, God, why haven't I thought of that before? It was so simple, and I've been using lights for 40 years. I learned something.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, if people want to get a hold of you, Jay, how can they reach you?
they can get me on my email, which is all lowercase JG Davis Photography at hotmail.com. They can go on my website, which is www.jgdavisphotography.com. Or you can call me 402-850-6985.
Well, thanks so much, Jay. I look forward to doing more of this with you in the future because I know there's a lot more to share, and you're such a sharing, caring person. It's great to have your expertise.
Well, thanks.
I'm Mark Weber with Marathon Press. You can reach me here at markw@marathonpress.net or 1-800-228-0629 extension 283. See you next time.